we have a special guest.
Yes.
me.
This
Yes,
is our
yes.
longtime friend Jennifer. Say hello to everybody.
Hello. What do I call you? Do I call you Pedro or
Yeah,
Pete?
you
or...
can call me
Okay.
Pedro or Pete. Either one of those
Okay.
is fine. She's one of the few people that knows me as Pete still. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm-
that's I accept that term.
I'm
It's
the
fine.
only one that calls you Pete.
Yeah, that's it. And the other guy,
And me.
you know, there was someone this weekend we just met, the father of one of the children at one of the kids at our
Oh.
daughter's birthday. Yeah, I'd said Pete to him because the way he said Pedro, like Pedro, he mangled it. And so I was like, you just call me Pete. Pete. Yeah, you got that. That's fine. That works way better. So I like that. I like that.
How do you mangle Pedro?
Yeah, I know, right? But hey, listen, he was Indian, so sometimes that accent hits a little
He
funny.
is Pakistani.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake.
Yeah.
My mistake. He is Pakistani.
You're right.
Thank you for
Pedro.
correcting me in front of everyone. yeah, you're right. He is Pakistani. Should I say Pakistani? Pakistani? This is what we talk about with the accent. bit.
We're American. We can say Pakistan.
Okay, you know how I make that joke every time Americans talk about bicycling, they get a baguette and a beret. Oh, do you see the Tour de France? I have no idea why that's the one word we say with an accent. The Tour de France.
You know, well, because I don't know. Tour de France. Yeah, it just sounds better.
Yeah, there's so many ways. Yeah, you can say Tour de France. Like you just sound like a hick. Like you
yeah,
just step out of
sound
your
like
pickup
it.
truck. I'm good enough to go to that Tour de France.
All right. Podcasting.
Oh, that's right. We're talking about a movie. We're talking about a movie this week. This week's film is The Crazies.
We never thought it would happen.
Nobody gets in or out of that town now, is that clear?
The girl just died. How do you intend to let the people know about all this?
We were asleep. They dragged us right out of the house.
Are we under martial law? Don't talk to me or anybody else unless you got a voice print check.
All hell's broke loose in town. Nobody knows what's going on.
Now look, you just can't push us around this way.
We've got to get a nuclear weapon in the air above that town.
This is 1973. George Romero's The Crazies, and Breck Eisner's update in 2010.
Yeah.
Was I supposed to watch those?
Preferably, yes.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I did it.
It's okay. You can just wing it. I've never even seen Black Christmas.
The first movie was a little like rough a little bit because it was so old and like.
Yeah.
Well, let's get
did.
into it. Let me
Yeah.
just let me set the scene of 1973, because like we talk about independent movie today, and there's no such thing as like an independent movie that you ever get to see, because movies are so expensive, and somehow they have stars in them, even the movies that are independent. And it's just independent doesn't really exist in that way anymore. It's very corporate. Like,
Mhm.
the independent movies you see are still made by A24 with a couple $1 million budget and somehow have Selena Gomez in them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is not what independent film was in 1972. George Romero's a fucking renegade out there with a madman with a giant ass film camera. And what's the budget on this? Like 50 grand?
I didn't even look that up. What?
275,000.
275,000. Now, I want to say, by the way, actually, like processing the film costs a lot of money. That's a really minuscule budget
Yeah.
for like everything that's in this movie. But I will
You
say,
can kind of tell the audio was
oh yeah,
subpar.
yeah, that's what you get with a low budget movie. Like the audio here is painful at times. Like it really is.
But
Like
yes, it did really feel like a George Romero movie. I mean, it had, Night of the Living Dead, that I immediately felt that presence.
yeah,
Just not the zombie theme or anything, just the overall look and quality and how it was directed. Just
yeah, it feels Romero.
Yeah,
does.
it does
Like
feel
this-
like him.
Like this is an authentic like piece of cinema. It's a guy just trying to express
Yeah, it
himself
is.
and get an idea out there.
Yeah.
It really is. There's no other agenda to it, and that's interesting. Like, listen, the movie hasn't aged well. Spoiler, it just hasn't.
It hasn't. It hasn't.
I mean,
I had a hard time with this movie.
it's not one of his better films, but I still recommend this to people. Like, I would still say anybody check out Romero's The Crazies, especially if you like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. Like, those are two really good movies. And by the way, for the real film fans out there, go check out Martin. That's a vampire film Romero did in between The Crazies and Dawn of the Dead. and it's one of the best vampire movies ever made, and nobody ever fucking talks about it.
Yeah.
We'll cover it one day, but I just wanted to bring that up right now for everybody. I'm going to make this a
I'm
clip I put
not
on
gonna
TikTok.
lie.
Go and watch Martin. What was that?
Okay, so I said I'm not gonna lie. I went to go watch the movie, right? And I started folding laundry, and I'm watching the movie, and then I was like, I think I need a nap. And then the
Oh
next
yeah, like it ain't perfect. That's why I got the compliments out of the way.
and the next day I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it, right? I'm gonna do it. So I folded laundry again because I do that every day anyway. I'm watching this movie, and I mean, the part that really got my attention was more towards the end when the father was raping his daughter.
Yes,
I was like, what?
Yeah, that shocked me as well.
What is going on?
And that's like disturbing.
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, but I mean, I didn't find it disturbing where I was like, oh my God, my life is ruined. I just was like, oh, okay, you got my attention now. So I decided to watch the rest. All right. I mean, but it took that to really get my attention. A lot of guys were running around and just, I don't know, in the white suits, and a lot of, I don't know, men talking. It's boring.
Yeah, there is a lot of like military guys talking about ultimatums and morality. And it is an interesting take that I find weird today is the military isn't just a bad guy in the movie. Yes, they do some shitty things, but they're not really portrayed as like the evil.
Yeah, like it normally is.
I don't know when we start talking about the new one, but I do have to say I thoroughly enjoyed that one much more than the original.
Well, we'll get to that. We have a few more things to say about that. We try to cut it up for one movie and then go to the other one.
Well,
your chain of events on your podcast, but we're still talking about the old one. Okay.
Yeah.
How did this movie get made?
For a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. That's how this sucker got made. No, I mean, this really, I obviously I'm a film nerd, clearly, but I listen to the commentary track on, go ahead.
It's a good idea. You know, I do love the idea.
Yeah, like there are some bonus points to give Romero for trying to pull this off in 1973 or like 71 or 72 when he shot it, because this is way ahead of its time.
It's a low budget.
Yeah, a movie about a virus is something America, that wasn't even something in the consciousness at all. You know, and this movie gets ripped off pretty hard by something like Outbreak in like 93. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, and that movie borrows a lot of themes from it, but that movie doesn't have the balls that this one does by a long shot. But it is a much better made film. So I'm not going to say it's not, but it's just sort of popcorn entertainment. This movie is a B movie, but Romero's always trying to make a social statement, even if he's going to punch you in the face with that idea.
Yeah.
Well, he made a simple statement enough for there to be a remake.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what we talk about all the time, the movie that begs for a remake.
Yeah.
A very cool idea that wasn't really able to get done like it should have, but just enough of that idea is presented well enough, and that's how good Romero is as a director, to kind of pull that out of that small budget.
Yep. No shit, right?
Yeah. It's an achievement in that respect.
Yes, I think so.
I do kind of like the beginning of this movie, though, with the crazy guy that destroys his house.
I did enjoy the beginning.
Yeah.
I watched the beginning twice. So, but it's just a little farther in, and I'm a little ADD. Like,
oh, I had a hard time too.
Yeah, no, it's not the easiest one of his movies to follow in that, because it does, like I said, like you pointed out earlier, it's a lot of guys talking at some point. Yeah, they just really descends to that. And listen, I understand that all that has a point. It really does, but it doesn't make it entertaining.
Do you think the movie uses its budget well?
Fuck yeah. I mean, like, it's cheap, but like, you don't really feel like, God, what a cheap piece of shit. You just know, like, okay, obviously that's the best they could do. I mean, a motherfucker, they light on fire at one point.
I felt the whole Night of the Living Dead vibe from it. I sensed the same director, of course, and I enjoyed that part because I do like him as a director.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I've always appreciated Romero's work, and it wasn't until he got older that things got, lousy from him, but a lot of filmmakers lose it when they get old, so. It's not that big a deal. A lot of his work is fantastic, especially since he rarely ever had a big budget.
Do you
Yep.
find that the leader of the military is a good character?
Yeah. I think he is actually, because he's just a guy doing a job, and that's what I really
Are you talking,
appreciate about him.
Talking about the
are you
black
talking
guy?
about
Yeah,
the black guy?
Yeah.
whose name we all don't know. I don't think anyone on the show right now
I
is
didn't
good with
write his
character
name
names.
down.
I just watched this movie like an hour ago. Shit. Not retain that information, no, but I liked him.
Yeah, because even
I
like
thought
one
his
point when he's even telling them, he's like, "Listen, I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm a combat guy. I just
yeah.
was off to that day, and so they just sent me in." I think that's a theme, that you even see carried over late in the remake as well. But that movie is very clear cut about the military being the bad guy. But this movie, leaving it more open, is more interesting. But to do a lot of those things, it does get slow.
He's saying like he's not the one making the orders.
Yeah.
He's being told what to do because he's in the military.
It's just a job. He's got to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a deadly virus. He's got to get it contained. So, I mean, it's a rough job to do. And I mean, at that respect, like Romero trying to show like the dehumanizing that can happen in this sort of event, like that's all interesting.
Yeah.
But that's another real problem the movie has. It's trying to do like 1,000 things.
Yeah.
It really is. Like Romero's like spinning plates here. And that's one thing that we see the remake get right.
I was gonna say I do love the scene with the burning bodies and the military like stealing all the people's belongings and money. I think that's a really raw scene.
Yeah.
And it shows what people are doing in this type of situation, what people would do even if this hit wider.
Yeah.
It was more global.
Yeah, no, that is a great moment like there. You just see that.
Romero's so good at that.
Yeah, he's really great about showing us the shittiness of humanity.
Yeah.
In just a really simple way. Like there's a nice scene in Dawn of the Dead where there's just hunters out there making like sport of trying to kill the zombies. And it just says so much about us because like, yeah, that probably happened. Like when I see that, like I was like, yeah, I could imagine it. Like, I mean, hell, I know people that would go out and do that. Even though that might not be the most effective way, that's just who we are. Like Romero kind of nails us at times.
I do believe that I will watch the movie again just for one day when I can just watch and concentrate and read more into it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a movie that like you can get a little bit more out of rewatching it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch it again. Like when I watched it the first time, like I said, I had to take a nap. And the second time I was able to stay awake. I'm going, well, I had my homework. I do my homework. I didn't want to let you guys down.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. Hey, listen, it's okay to nap during a movie. It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fell asleep during The Rock the other day, and I loved that movie.
Sometimes you just feel a nap.
This movie was filmed in Evans City and Connoquenessing, Pennsylvania. Yeah, that was a hard word to say.
Yeah, it was. Good on you.
Connoquenessing. Many of the extras were locals, and the white-suited soldiers were high school students.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, that's how you use a budget right there. You're like, hey, you want to be in a movie? Yeah, I guess. We'll get this heavy suit on and let's go out in the sun for 12 hours.
The burning house at the beginning of the movie was serendipity. The local fire department was burning down an old house to practice. They agreed to let the filmmakers film in it.
I did read that part.
Yeah, I do really like that opening scene. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I like the way the movie just kind of hits you in the face with the theme of it. Like these kids just having to watch their father go crazy.
Yeah, that part was a little shocking. I was like, wow. Oh, we starting big, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, let's kill these motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a great opening. It really grabs your attention, and I think it opens actually a little bit stronger than the remake does.
Yeah.
Like I said, the movie's just uneven from trying to carry way too much stuff, and also George Romero. The big thing about a low budget actors.
Yeah.
Like the acting in this movie is pretty suspect. I mean, and I'm trying to be nice, and there's a couple of actors who get reused in a few later Romero movies. Dr. Watt, who is the doctor who makes the vaccine and who dies, he's in Dawn of the Dead. He's one of the doctors on TV basically playing the same part. Basically, when the world's ending, he's trying to convince people to like conserve and shit like that, but it doesn't matter. But he's in that movie, and the guy who fucks his daughter, he's the demented doctor in Day of the Dead. The one who bonds with the zombie. So those are the only two kind of performances. Oh, and the daughter is Scream Queen Lynn Lowry, who's also in the remake.
Yeah.
I did know that was her name, but I did not know she was Scream Queen.
Yeah. She's in a couple other movies, a couple of the early Cronenberg movies. She's in Shivers, and she's good there. She's in this movie, I guess. She has that memorable death.
Was she infected when they shot her with?
Yeah.
Did they? Okay. I didn't know if she was, or she just gone crazy because her dad raped her.
Yeah.
And then,
well, like it could go either way, really. That's the thing about being crazy. Like you just don't know if you're just reacting to a traumatic event or if you've got this fucking disease.
Yeah, so he was obviously infected, or he just took this moment to.
And that's one thing I do like in this one is that they're crazy. In the other film, there's like zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they have a little bit of consciousness left, but they're mostly like rage creatures. But in this one, like they're just crazy because people are attacking other people, but there's some bitch out there just sweeping up the grass outside while all this shit's going down. So they're just insane.
Yeah. Not so necessarily all murderous.
Yeah. Like some people are just gonna laugh and sit in traffic and stuff like that. That's it. I mean, that's all they're just gonna take a bath out in the lawn. That's all that's gonna happen to them. But
the dad ends up killing himself, actually.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was kind of weird. But I guess that's the way.
Well, I think they do mention even early on that like they have moments of lucidity. So that's like what that could have been. Like he just realized he couldn't live with himself.
Almost.
Yeah, the same thing with the father, like weeping in the car in the beginning when he had a few moments of clarity.
And then later he's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about the ending of this movie?
It's a great sense of hopelessness, I think, because it's just going to continue on. The guy's got to go do the same job somewhere else, where there's going to be more chaos and death and destruction. I mean, I think it's a far more downbeat ending than the reboot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really do.
I like the ending. I was like, I mean, the nice guy got away to go to the next job. But yeah, it didn't bother me. I was happy with it.
That scene was the only time they had trouble with the residents of that town.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there was a naked black guy in the middle of the street with a giant light above him and a wind machine to simulate the helicopter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I read that part in the trivia.
Yeah, no, I heard that was one I remember from the commentary track years ago. So I remember the story. You remember the town pretty fondly, but that was the only issue they had about that. So, which I guess in 1971 or 72 America, I suppose I can understand.
Like, what is going on
exactly,
here?
Right.
Well, the only other things that I have about this movie is the budget was $275,000. It's Romero's first union movie. It only grossed $143,000.
Which Romero was very sore about.
Yeah,
very sore. They
that's
marketed
not
this movie
anything.
very poorly.
And then the movie has 2 cameos by Romero. Can you guess where they are?
He's in one of the suits. I know that.
Man, I don't know. I remember.
I don't know. Tell me.
Damn it! I didn't know there would be questions.
I know she had quizzes this time. All right.
First is a local. First is a local being hoarded into the high school. The second as the head of the president seen on a monitor.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah.
I never would have guessed. That's funny though. I do like him being the president.
That's kind of cool.
Well, do we have anything else we want to add about this movie before we move on to the next one?
I think we've discussed it thoroughly. I mean, I'm sure there's other big deep dives of this movie, but listen, I recommend it. It's if you enjoy older kind of movies like this or kind of cult cinema from the 70s, you're probably going to find a lot to dig in this film. If you don't, beware.
Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can get some enjoyment out of it, I think pretty much anybody can find some enjoyment in it.
All right.
And I did.
Now we have the Crazies 2010.
I don't care what the calendar says. Opening day. That's the first day of spring. Sir.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
What the hell are you doing? Rory, you lay that gun down.
David, you did the right thing. Would you mind taking a look at Bill? Sure, what's wrong? I don't know. He's just not right.
She worries too much. I'm fine.
You got any plans this weekend?
She worries too much. I'm fine.
Man, I really hate to heap so much praise on something this early,
Ben.
but it's really one of the better reboots that's ever been done for a horror movie
Mhm.
because it fixes a ton of the problems at the script level with the first movie by focusing the narrative and really just cutting the fat
whole,
away
like-
from the story.
Yeah, it's truly a gritty reboot.
Yeah, this absolutely is one of those absolute gritty reboot. And like I said, the script is very good. Like what they choose to focus on was a really good idea. It worked out very well.
Is he dead?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I actually came across this movie a few years back on something streaming. I can't remember what it was, and I had no idea it was a remake at all. I just was like, oh, they're Crazies. Let's watch it. And I really liked it. I thought, this is great. So when you informed me there was an old one, I was like, what?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I think when this movie came out, the reviews were okay. I think they were above average. I'm not real certain, but I just didn't check it out. I liked the original film, and I wasn't too interested in a Hollywood remake. Even though I did like Timothy Olyphant, and I don't want this to be like a Timothy Olyphant thirst section, all right? But I was a fan of his. But
He is very handsome.
he's a pretty feller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole end.
Yeah.
He's good here, but I missed the movie when it came out. When I watched it on video, I was like, dude, this is really good. And I've been singing its praises ever since because it's kind of forgotten. It didn't really get a sequel. I think it just did okay at the box office. So, you kind of have to champion this movie because it's still not incredibly well known, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, because man, it's a good movie. Like, sit down, have a movie night, watch the Crazies.
Yeah.
The 2010 with the handsome guy.
2010 with Handsome Boy.
With Handsome Boy. That's the tagline.
All right. So this movie starts at a baseball game. We have a guy named Rory. He takes a gun and he comes onto the field. And that's where Timothy Olyphant's character, I can't remember his name, but I remember the Rory guy's name.
Bill? Yeah, nobody remembered any character names.
Yeah. He goes and tries to disarm him and he just doesn't listen. And he eventually raises the gun at him and Timothy Olyphant has to kill him. And that starts the strangeness that starts in the town. And then people are kind of acting strange all over the place.
I like that sequence at the baseball field and how it builds.
Yeah.
Because it's a nice way to introduce how the disease kind of works and what it does to people. It's standard horror stuff. You take a normal everyday scene and then you add something extreme into it. And the way the movie does it is really well done. The scene builds up tension nicely and he has to take that shot. And the way Olyphant plays it is a guy who didn't want to take that shot.
Yeah.
He had to. Like, it's very easy to identify with Olyphant in this movie. Very easy.
Yeah.
And that sets it off. David is his name, by the way.
Then we have some real uneasy moments with the family on the farm where the father is out in the shed and he's acting real strange. He turns on the combine.
So yeah, they had faux Amy Adams as the mother, right? That woman looked incredibly like a young Amy Adams.
Yeah.
So they have her there and she goes out to, she's what's that, like a big tractor?
Combine. Combine?
Combine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Combine.
So yeah, the blades on that thing are spinning. I like how she's yelling right in front of it. The movie kind of teases you that he's gonna run her over. And you don't get that at all. She goes inside, turned off, he's not there, and that's when you hear the scream from inside the house. And I like the way that whole scene plays out with, the dad locking them in and then laying down the kerosene.
Yeah.
And then he just lights the match. You don't see anything after that. Yeah, they just leaves it to your imagination, and you can tell by like the horror on Oliphant's face and what it really is. You just see the burning of it and him just out of it.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really well done.
It is.
This movie is much more focused than the original movie, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, yeah. This is that time, in the 2010s and stuff like that, there was a lot of horror remakes at the time, and zombies were pretty hot. So it was nice to see that this wasn't like some sort of cheap cash grab where they either took like a completely unrelated story, but they really tried to remake the original movie. And I appreciate that because in this era, there was a lot of sloppy work done, a lot of lazy remakes, and this really wasn't one.
They kept the same name for the virus, right?
Trixie, yeah.
Trixie.
Mm-hmm. And was it water contamination?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But this movie does take place in a different spot.
It does, yeah. Well, Romero is he always shot in Pennsylvania. Of course, he's low budget filmmaking. You shoot where you live. So I forget what this movie. This movie wasn't
Iowa.
Iowa. That's right. Yeah, because they're in the middle of the cornfield.
What did y'all think about the cast? We already kind of talked about Timothy Olyphant, but what did you think about his love?
Was it Roger Mitchell?
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, she was in Pitch Black. I've always liked her. I'm a fan of hers, actually. I don't think she has great chemistry with Oliphant, but she's not bad in this movie at all. But to me, I think like
I thought they were great together.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not that I particularly dislike it. I just don't feel like they were a couple or something like that. It just never really worked for me. I've seen Oliphant have effortless chemistry with a lot of people, and for some reason it kind of wasn't there with her. I guess it's more because I'm an Oliphant fan. I guess I've seen him click with actresses better,
Maybe so.
Yeah, all those scenes that Justified are catching up to me. Maybe I'm the one thirsting for Oliphant. Is that what's happening?
You've always been a big fan of Oliphant.
Don't make me question my sexuality, Timmy. Don't make me do it. Don't. I called him Timmy. It's already begun.
I bet he'd call you Pete.
Call me what he wants. What?
What other characters are there to discuss?
You know what? I got to mention Joe Anderson. He's the deputy.
Oh, yeah.
His performance is really fucking good. He has to really subtly go from being the deputy, backing up his friend no matter what, and letting the anger and fear of the situation get to him, and then letting the disease kind of emerge. And it's a really great performance in that because there's no like clear mark when he's truly showing off that he's infected. It's such a gradual change throughout the whole movie from him. It's really impressive work. It might be one of my favorite, a character in the movie turns into a zombie scene in all of like zombie movies. It's really well done. The way he slowly does completely give in to being crazy.
Yeah.
I have to commend his work, and it's a shame I never saw him in more stuff.
The military in this movie is a lot different. In the original movie, the military is kind of like an aid almost. It's not a bad entity. In this movie, it's a bad entity.
Yeah, they're definitely portrayed as the bad guy.
Yeah, they're like killing people left and right.
Yeah, well, in 2010, it's a lot more in vogue and certainly more popular to distrust the government. And that shows off how easily in this narrative they're saying, like, okay, well, the government's clearly the bad guy here. We're not going to even, I mean, because they don't have a narrative, really. You don't hear them say anything until later in the movie when they capture one of the guys and he's like, 18 years old, an 18-year-old soldier. And he has no idea what's going on. Is just as scared as they are. So that doesn't help them. And also later in the film when they capture that one guy with the tire spikes, Glenn Morshower, by the way.
Yeah.
Great character actor from 24. And from him, you just really get the idea of like, we fucked up. That's it. This is horrible. There's nothing we can do. We're just trying to get rid of the situation and make sure this shit doesn't spread.
Do you feel, because this is a 37-year difference.
Yeah.
Movies. Do you think the views in the military in that 37 years have changed, or just the way people care to portray them?
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely because obviously people were distrustful after like Vietnam, and a lot of 70s horror shows that off. And I think over the years we've only grown more distrustful of the military. That trend is, even now it's only getting worse. We're way more distrustful of the government now than we've ever been.
It's a good point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, way more, and you can clearly see that in the way that the movie chooses to tell the story.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Like watching the old one compared to the new one, and how the difference in how that part is portrayed. Like, just there was no nice guy.
And still, this remake does try to do a little bit of that work by trying to stress these are just guys doing a job. This is
Mhm.
really like, because even in the original movie, there's suits up at the top who are fucking everything up. And it's the same thing here too. Like there's orders coming in they have to follow because it just has to get done. That's the job, you know. So I mean, it is one of those things. They just trying to turbo speed through that same kind of narrative. So it's not as effective here, but it is still here.
Yep.
Each actor who was transformed into the crazy had to sit in the makeup chair for 3 hours.
That doesn't
Okay.
seem that bad. That doesn't seem
No.
that bad.
I had to sit 3 hours getting makeup done like a drag queen.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yes, it was terrible. No.
No. I got painted blue once. I got painted blue
How
in
long
my
did that
upper torso, and that took like 3.5 hours.
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah, that took a ton of time because I was like, oh, they just spread it on, but I mean, you can't see the skin through, so it has to be thick, but not like a coat of paint on me. So
Yeah, because your pores have to breathe.
yeah, it had to be finally done. So it took a long time. It really took a long time.
Pedro, why were they painting you blue?
Yeah, why were they painting you blue?
I was in a friend's movie, and they needed somebody to play the alien, and that's what I was
The
doing.
cookie or what?
Yeah, so that's what it was. They said, well, we have to paint you blue, and I was like, I'll sign up for that without really thinking it through. And then I was sitting there while they were just painting me blue, and they even cut that scene out of the movie, so I'm not even in there. I did it for nothing.
Ding dong.
Yeah.
Damn it. I'd like to see that.
There's an old iPhone around here somewhere with that picture on it.
Nice.
Okay.
So you remember the in the cell with the crazy guy?
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of writing behind him. Did y'all ever pay attention to what the writing on the back of the wall said?
I did not.
No.
The graffiti on the jail cell wall spells out Romero.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't get that's a good little trivia there. I like that. That's a good fact.
That's full of shit.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about was I like that in this movie, the characters on the ground know more about what's going on, or at least Oliphant does because he's the sheriff.
Yeah.
And that was a good decision to swap fireman for sheriff, because as a sheriff, law enforcement, you're going to be a lot more likely to know more about the situation.
Yeah.
And like how they find the plane, I think is pretty cool. Them just out there on the.
Yeah, it's a good shot.
Yeah, as you see like the crane come up or the drone come up, and you can see the plane just down underneath there. And then immediately like things shift into high gear.
Who directed this?
This is actually directed by Breck Eisner.
The new.
He's the son of mega agent and former head of Disney, Michael Eisner. So he is Mr. Nepotism. And I really, really dislike most of his movies, except this one.
Nepo baby.
We have a good friend, Ricky, and he is a huge fan of Clive Cussler.
Yeah.
And his work. And anyway, Breck Eisner adapted Sahara, one of Clive Cussler's most famous works. And it's a terrible movie.
It's a terrible movie.
And it's great because like Ricky is the most laid back, chill guy in the world, but he gets how I get when someone talks about Dragon Ball Evolution when Sahara came on TV. Like he just talked about everything that was wrong with it. And it was a nice moment because I was like, anybody can be a nerd.
Yeah.
It's something, everybody's a nerd about something.
Ricky likes to read.
That is true. He does like to read, yeah.
Okay, so talking about favorite scenes. One of my favorite scenes is all the women are strapped to the beds.
Yes.
And the guy he's running in there, the infected was running in there with a pitchfork.
The scraping on the
And
ground.
the scraping on the ground. And he's like slowly killing people.
She's trapped in there with some of the girls are already going crazy because they're twitching and some are just laughing, even like before the pitchfork goes in. That scene is so well done. The way it builds tension.
Yeah.
Like it really does. It has you on the edge of your seat. It's so good.
It feels hopeless too.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, that's a nightmare situation to be trapped in a room with a psycho when you're strapped to a bed.
And a pitchfork.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, because it's not sharp. He's shoving that in you to kill you. That's got to hurt like hell. And that won't kill you that quickly.
Yep. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I love that scene.
Yeah.
Is the virus's lifespan less in this movie than the original?
Yeah, people seem to die pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, within 72 hours, you're dead.
I think 72 hours is what they said, 2 days.
Yeah. Like you'll either show symptoms, and once you're showing symptoms, you have a day, and that's about it. So
Yeah.
I guess that's one thing.
Age.
Yeah.
And then you're like, meh, dead. I'm done killing. Kill myself.
What do y'all think the military's agenda was?
Well, I mean, just to contain everything at any cost. Because well, that's the thing, that the military knew how dangerous the shit was. They really did. And
Because they created it.
yeah, so they were making one half-assed attempt to not use a nuke. But like, there's a scene somewhere they didn't show you where some guy's like, listen, we should just nuke this town. Like right from the very start. Like the second they heard the plane went down, they're like, nuke it. But this was like their half-assed attempt to try to contain it. Because you even hear that at the end, like when they capture that soldier, they're rolling out because they've already fucked up and it's over. If you think about it, yeah, you obviously fight for your freedom and stuff like that. Nobody wants to be herded around by the military. But those guys who drove into the red truck at the quarantine camp,
Yeah.
they got that town nuked. Because at that point, the military didn't have any control, so they had no choice. So those guys got everybody killed, even the people in town who might not have been infected.
Wow.
So those guys are the real assholes of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're probably going to nuke everybody.
Basically, we have the military. Then we go from there to the home of Timothy Olyphant and Raja. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah, Raja Mitchell.
Raja.
Raja Mitchell.
She goes up to her soon-to-be, because she's pregnant.
Yeah, she is pregnant.
Forgot to mention that.
Concern. That's why she's always trapped there, because she has a fever because she's pregnant.
You know what? I think they have the same names because I remember in the first movie her name was Judy.
Yeah. Yeah, because the guy in the first movie is David.
And Judy was pregnant.
Yeah.
So I mean, they do carry a ton over from that movie. They really do.
Yeah, they do.
Good observation, because I didn't even realize that.
Well, I didn't realize it either till you just said she was pregnant. I'm like, oh shit, the other one was pregnant too.
Yeah. Yeah, so she goes into her baby's room, basically surprised by Rory's wife, the guy who was shot in the beginning of the movie, and his son. And Timothy Olyphant notices that she's been very quiet, and he hears the mobile going, and he goes upstairs to check on her. And that's when you get this moment where he realizes he gets hit in the head. He falls to the ground.
A lot of concussions in this movie.
Yeah, he gets his like 18th concussion.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
And you have another moment of tension where you have the infected going after Timothy Olyphant and Raja, and they have to find their way out of it.
The fight with the guy's wife and son, it was okay, but one of the moments I didn't like was when he's reaching for his gun, she stabs his hand, and that's fine. But then he stabs her with the blade, and I was like, but now you're infected.
Oh,
yeah.
There's no way that could happen and you wouldn't get infected. What do you do? Just snap the blade off in the middle of his hand?
Oh, yeah.
If he pulled it out, her blood would get in his wound and he would be infected.
Oh.
And it's just an element they don't really cover, because the movie's pretty adamant that David isn't sick. Even though apparently there was an alternate ending. I don't know if they ever shot it, but I do know they had one where David was supposed to get sick. But I like I said, I don't believe they even shot it. So I've never seen it. I think I only heard about it from an interview that I read with Breck Eisner.
Okay.
Nice. So the movie kind of ends at this big truck stop scene. You got the guys in the red truck that come up again.
The hunters, yeah.
Yeah, the hunters.
Yeah, I do like that. Now they hunt the deadliest game.
They're having a good old time hunting man.
Yeah, they really are. There's different levels of crazy in this movie. Like a lot of the crazy
that make me think of Refugio, Texas, and some good old boys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely people who definitely do that. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
You have to really, really worry about that. Coming from a small town, we really identify with some of the themes in this movie.
Yeah.
Like knowing everybody. Like that's something like I have to explain that to people who grew up here in the city. Like, no, I mean, you really knew who everyone is in town. And the town in this movie is bigger than Refugio is.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think it's like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the original remake, it was 3,336 or some shit.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we're talking about how many survived.
Very small, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can relate in the sense of small town. Oh shit, there's Coach Herring. Shoot him.
Yeah. like, hey, I buy my donuts from that guy as you stab him with as you stab him with a screwdriver.
No more donuts.
Yeah.
No more.
The movie ends with a giant bomb blasting off a city.
I do. I
So-
like that. The countdown's pretty cool when they hear it on the radio.
Yeah. What do y'all think the widespread impacts would have happened as a result of a bombing of a city from existence?
Phew, that's a pretty tough thing to cover up.
Yeah.
It's a real tough thing to cover up.
Yeah, like what do you think would happen? You wouldn't be able to go there for a while because of the radiation.
Something in the town exploded. That's what they would say. A gas line exploded and it blew up the whole town. Freak accident.
Yeah. You try to write it off as that, but yeah, you're right. You have to completely restrict all access to it.
Yeah.
For years, because you tried to nuke away that, and then at the end of the day, well, as the movie ends, we discover they have to nuke Cedar Rapids too. They pretty much just nuke the state.
In the middle of nowhere, I can understand, but say a place like here where we're from, 77 goes right through the town, that would be real hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
that'd be a big deal.
Which maybe has saved us from nuclear explosions. I don't know.
There you go. The government couldn't cover it up.
Nope.
They'd be interrupting. They'd be disturbing the economy. They can't do that. They can't slow down those trucks.
No.
Yeah. That shit's got to move no matter what.
That old
Going
police
to Dallas.
That old police car they go to get, that is a 1973 Ford LTD. The year the original movie was released.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, by the way, when Olyphant or David is starting to get wind that there's something strange happening in the town, he walks down the street and the city's kind of deserted.
Mhm.
There's one woman kind of riding a bicycle.
Yes.
That's Lynn Lowry.
I know.
Oh.
Yeah, because hey, listen, I know that fact, so that belongs to me, lady. Ha!
Yeah, I had that written
I'm the
down.
king of facts. I was there. I saw it.
Okay.
Oh, Lord. You probably were.
Anyways, back to my facts. This is a 12th film released in select D-Box enabled cinemas. Now, I didn't know what D-Box meant, so I looked it up. It's motion controlled technology that adds to the movie's plot and fear, terror, and explosive action by offering realistic sensations during most of the film action scenes.
So it's just shaking you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you get in and it's like immersive and it moves with
bouncing you up and down.
Yeah, and like sprays water in your face and
that's just what I wanted.
The aquarium here, they call it 4D or some shit. 5D theater. That's pretty awesome.
This is what I want to do. I want to go see a zombie movie while the theater spits in my face.
Yeah,
I would enjoy that. Please jostle me, theater, and let me enjoy my popcorn while shaking.
Dude, jump scares. I am like the biggest, scariest motherfucker when it comes to jump scares. Like, oh, even in the aquarium, they do like a little jump scare at the bottom of your foot, like when a snake comes out or something, and it touches your ankles, and I'm like, ah, like, so I could not only imagine a zombie or this type movie and in that environment, like, it'd be pretty exciting. I might pee myself.
You would have loved The Tingler back in the day. You ever heard of that movie?
I was like, oh Lord, I've heard of something called that, but it was not a movie.
No, it was an old Vincent Price movie, and that was the gimmick. What they do is the Tingler would kill people by crawling up their back, and it would like tickle them on the way up.
What?
And so, yeah, before it took you over.
That would be crazy.
So what they did is they'd put like vibrators in the bottom of the seats, and they would turn them on midway through the movie so people would think the Tingler was on them.
Yeah.
And so they'd get up and go, oh God, and run around and freak out. So that was literally the first test run of that kind of concept all the way back in the 60s. Before in some theaters, they had movies where they had skeletons on ropes that they would move throughout the theater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's an idea they've had for a long time.
All right. Well, I feel like it hasn't evolved as much as it should. Like,
no, because it's a shit idea. That's why. It's a shit idea.
I guess. I don't know.
Are you the one fan out there for the real D cinema experience?
Yes.
So you're telling me you really okay? Well, now
There are fans of things like
that's
that.
fine. I'll look for one, and we'll go see a movie there, so we can both be jostled together as we watch.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll watch Avatar while we get dipped underwater and have to hold our breaths for minutes at a time.
Well, it's so cool because at the aquarium, like when you go under the water, like they have bubble machines and they like fill up the theater with bubbles. And
Oh, that's neat.
maybe I'm just a child at heart. I don't know.
I'm a bitter old man. Don't shake me when I watch a movie.
Don't blow bubbles on me.
Yeah, no one even look at me during the process of this film.
That's funny.
Well, the last fact that I have
Lay it on me.
is about Elizabeth Banks.
Oh.
And how does she relate to this movie, you ask? She turned down a role in this movie because she thought it was too similar to her character in Slither.
I like that movie better than this one. That character's more interesting in Slither. So, but it is a similar kind of idea. So you don't want to be in like back-to-back zombie movies.
Typecast.
Yeah, it only worked out for Will Smith when he did like 2 Alien movies back-to-back. You know, Independence Day and Men in Black. They're the biggest movies of the year. But otherwise, like once you do 2 movies like that, then you're the zombie girl.
Yep.
All right. Do we have anything else we want to say about this movie?
I recommend people watch it if they haven't seen it.
Yeah, this is one of the remakes you really should watch. I give this a really, really high recommendation. It's a very well-made film, a lot of good scares in it. Acting's really solid all the way through. I mean, it's like a solid 9 out of 10 for me. I mean, it's just a damn good movie.
Yeah, I agree. I concur.
All right.
So what y'all doing the rest of the night?
Well, we're going to finish up this show with our reviews.
Well, yeah.
Reviews.
Meredith finds the finest 1-star reviews on the internet, and she tells us what the finest minds of Letterboxd or IMDb have to say about these films.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. So, The Crazies, 1973, 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.1 on IMDb, and a 63% on Metacritic. The Crazies 2010 was 3.9 user review, 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.5 IMDb, and a 56% on Metacritic. And then here is a 1-star review for the 1973 movie.
Okay.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the remake did this better. It's not that I want a movie to be full of action, it's just that full of nothing but boring dialogue. The characters are selfish and the acting consists of an amateurish style that wears out its welcome quickly. Romero has given us some dandies. Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, hell, even Day of the Dead was good, but this doesn't rank among them. The gore level is pretty tame as well. The only blood that you'll see flow freely here is some messy gunshot stuff, and it looks like red paint most of the time. I know this was directed to be an act as a social commentary of sorts, but it even fails in that regard. I didn't feel anything after this movie was over. In fact, I was relieved. I didn't want to watch any more of it. The most effective sequence in the movie by far is the beginning. Chilling stuff. The performances are amateurish and not really worth going over. Bottom line, I was going to say this is worth a look for curiosity's sake, but even that is pushing it. Stick to Romero's better works.
Harsh. Very harsh. That guy was not a fan.
Nope, no fan.
Well, that is one opinion of it, but I have a word from the greatest film critic who ever lived, one Mr. Roger Ebert. So, Roger Ebert says, The Crazies was a horror action thriller about the accidental release of a biological weapon that drives the population of a small town into madness while bumbling government officials desperately try to close the Pandora's box that they themselves opened. Although this one also did not do well at the box office, the combination of dark humor and an increasingly jaundiced look at how quickly the very things that we rely on in our daily lives, family, friends, government, can fall by the wayside in a time of panic, eventually made it into a cult favorite as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
did he like it?
I think so. That's literally all he says about it. He did not review it at the time. He just did a retrospective on Romero's career. And he said a brief passage about it, where he said great things about Martin.
So here is the 1-star review for the 2010 movie. A murky and unnecessary remake of George Romero's Vietnam-era original that could have improved upon Romero's talky gore fest, but it quickly becomes a long-winded and repetitive chase without much suspense and even less originality. All too often, the music cues up and something leaps out, and so it goes and goes and goes. The film would have benefited from a slow, eerie buildup where things are gradually revealed to be off-kilter, but the film pretty much plunges into the action with minimal characterization, providing little reason to care. The script might make a decent Twilight Zone episode, but as a feature film, it becomes tiring long before the end. Unfortunately, the Crazies waste a good premise and decent actors. You'd be crazy to waste your time and money on it. There's not a single original or memorable moment in the entire forgettable mess.
I guess we'd be crazy then.
God damn.
Yeah, he really hated.
You brought the hate this week on those reviews.
Well, that's what 1-star reviews are sometimes.
Yeah, man, you eat shit. You're like, fuck you, and this movie. You're trying to bring. Shit, those guys really hate it. Sometimes the 1-star reviews, my people might be nice. They were like, nah, man, I'm gonna salt the earth. That's that kind of review right there.
I've come across some like that. They're just like, yeah, bad.
Don't hold nothing back. Back. All right, so that's the Crazies. I enjoyed watching these 2 movies. I hope everybody else did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Even though I fell asleep on the first one, it's okay.
That's okay. Naps are a precious part of life. You don't appreciate when you're younger. When you hit a certain age, a nap is the highlight of your day.
Sure is.
So, with that being said, if you think that we're all fucking crazy, you can let us know that in the most 90s way possible, emailing us. Go hop on your AOL, hit us up at grittyrebootcast@gmail.com, and that we will respond to your queries from there. You can also find us at Gritty Reboot on TikTok and Instagram as well, where I try to post daily, but I'm not always successful at that.
Yeah.
And Meredith, what are your socials?
I don't have any fucking socials.
That's right, fuck social media. Meredith does not have any socials and refuses to go that way. Even though she does, she just won't tell you. Oh yeah,
I
she
have
has a
Facebook.
You can look her up on Facebook and send her a message. She won't know what to do. Like someone's stalking me. That's what she'll think. Jennifer, what are your socials?
I just do Facebook mostly, I think. So yeah, Jennifer Regal on Facebook. I do a podcast on Wednesdays.
Yeah, plug your show.
Wednesday with Wendell. It's my friend and comedian friend, whatever. We did stand-up comedy together. But yeah, we just talk about current events in Corpus Christi.
Nice.
And around. And usually have like a guest on the show, and I have crazy questions, lightning round questions. Oh, y'all gotta be on there one day, damn it.
Yeah,
sure, we'd love to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We know how to make calls on a podcast now, so it can happen.
Apparently so.
Yeah, we're podcast geniuses. Well, all right, everybody. That's gonna do it for us. We appreciate you listening.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah,
I miss
this was
you
great.
guys.
Yeah, we
Thank
loved
you,
it.
Jennifer. You're the
Like
best.
a high school reunion.
Yeah,
Shit.
we'll definitely have you back.
Cool.
So.
Right.
All right.
I'll talk to y'all soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you, girl.
Love you too.